Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 7 of the Vuelta a España 2024, brought to you by Lupine Lights. Lupine Lights, the finest lights I've ever used throughout my career, and I've been riding them since 2019. They got apps for your phone so you can adjust the dimness or the brightness of each mode of your headlights. And of course, they have Bluetooth connectivity, so you can turn your lights on and off from just about anywhere. Now, when we're talking about saving 24%, make sure you use the code LupineLights24. That'll save you 24%, but you better use it soon because at the end of the Vuelta, September 9th, the offer is off the table. Now let's get into today's stage 7. It's going to be a remarkable stage 2 at the finish. It's a sleeper throughout the beginning of today's stage, but it's 180 kilometers, about 115 miles in length. And there's only a category 2 climb, but it comes at the finish and it'll summit with 25 kilometers to go. 7.5 kilometers at 5.6% means that some of the sprinters are interested. Kaden Groves is interested in trying to win the stage for Alpecin de Koenig, and Visma Bike are interested in winning the stage for Wout van Aert. That's why when the cameras come on, we see both those teams chasing the solo rider up front with about a 7.5 minute gap. It's Xavier Isasa up there from Euskaltel Euskadi, and he's riding a good pace, but he's one rider. So you know we're going into the finish of today's stage, and then we'll see whether or not if it's going to be a field sprint once they hit that category 2 climb. As Isasa is still up the road solo, when they cross the finish line with 40 kilometers to go, his gap has diminished, and you know he's getting caught at any moment. But we're coming up to sprint line competition directly after 40 kilometers to go. As we see Isasa wrap up first place points, there's a little sprint back there. Kaden Groves is going to get second, while Van Aert gets third, and then Isasa is going to get wrapped up, but they don't have it on camera. It's getting interesting though right now. It's Bora UAE team members, and of course the race leader's red jersey. That's Ben O'Connor up there for AG2R. His team's up and in around the action too because they're getting ready to start this category 2 climb as everyone's getting nervous. If I take you back into stage 6 finish, we know Ben O'Connor's wearing the race leader's red jersey, as I already told you, because there was a bunch of knuckleheads on that stage 6. Now let's see if there's any here on stage 7 as this climb starts with 33 kilometers to go. The peloton's going full gas in it. Affini's at the front. Now, Visma Bike have been running Affini throughout this whole stage for Visma Bike, and he's still drilling it on the front. While Van Aert's in a good position, about 7th, 8th spot back, and he has Attila Valters around him. Sepp Kuss is a little bit further back, about 3rd, 4th row on the left side over there, so he's got to make up some spots. Once we get a little bit deeper in this climb with Affini on the front, Visma Bike starts swarming the front. Sepp Kuss is getting up there while Van Aert's in good position. Steven Kruijswijk's coming in good position. Hessink's going to find his way up to the front here too, and Attila Valters there with Affini on the front. Visma Bike's looking fine at the early parts of this stage. Bora are all over the place with their guys in the front of the field, and UAE team members too. Now we come into about 4.5 kilometers to go. Bora is going to start riding the front. Okay, this is the beginning of the knuckleheadism here from Bora. It was the worst tactics I have seen in stage 6, and that's why they're 4 minutes and 51 seconds behind the race leader's red jersey, Ben O'Connor from AG2R, but it just continues getting even worse. Guys, this is a category 2 climb. Bora on the front. Giovanni's throwing down full gas. Danny Martinez is sitting second wheel. Lipovitz is wearing the race leader's white jersey. We see Primoz Roglic is up there and Vlasov's up there. They got 5 Bora riders drilling it, and we look at Visma Bike. Sepp Kuss, he's sitting second wheel. Wout's right there in the picture. He looks fine. UAE team members are just behind those guys. They're going up this climb, and it's starting to string out at the front with Bora setting the pace. Now, why are they knuckleheads? Okay, this is why they're knuckleheads. This is a category 2 climb. There's nothing you can do on this stage with it summiting at 25 kilometers to go where you can gain time on Ben O'Connor on a category 2 climb that is under 6% with only 1 kilometer at about 1.5 kilometer to go. That's kind of steep, but it even stair steps there. So if you drop Ben O'Connor with the last 1 kilometer and you can drop him and go over the top with a sizable gap, well, Primoz Roglic still has to have other competition rider guys up there with them like Sepp Kuss going over the top of the climb, and Enric Mas, and of course riders like Carapaz too. He's got to have guys with him going over the top that will work with him for 25 kilometers to go. So will that be a case? Well, if they can drop Ben O'Connor in category 2 climb, you can drop Ben O'Connor on the later stages here of the Vuelta a España. It means he doesn't have good form. So what you do today doesn't matter. Now, at the top of the KOM, what I didn't tell you is that there's a time bonus sprint up there of 6 seconds. So if Bora Hansgrohe wants to ride a steady pace at this moment with 4.5 kilometers to go, and you have Giovanni on the front drilling it, you don't need to drill it. Back the throttle off a little bit, run 80, 90%, run it all the way up there with Bora Hansgrohe with all 5 guys going up to the last few hundred meters, have Primoz Roglic get a nice lead out from Danny Martinez and Vlasov, and win the 6 seconds. There's no chance that you're going to drop Ben O'Connor, and like I said, if you can drop Ben O'Connor here, well, you can drop him at any mountain stage in the Vuelta a España, because this is a Category 2 and it doesn't even summit. But they don't want to take my tactics here on the butterfly effect, so we see Giovanni going full gas. Now it's getting interesting. The peloton's starting to hurt at the back of the field, and Giovanni's going to pull for about 2 kilometers on the front. Once he pulls off, it's time now for Danny Martinez to get on the front. As Danny Martinez is getting on the front, guess what? Lipovic is going to start having some problems. Lipovic was sitting second wheel behind Danny Martinez. He pulls out hard to the right. He's looking over to the left, and just about that same moment, 25 meters later, Danny Martinez starts throwing his elbow out, and we still got a ways to go at about 2.3 kilometers. Now Vlasov's on the front, and Primoz Roglic is the only riders left. When you look at that picture with Danny Martinez pulling out, and you see Lipovic pulling out at the same time, and there's only Vlasov on the front, this is a mistake right here, Bora Hansgrohe. You do not have this kind of power. You guys are knuckleheads again on back-to-back stages. But again, they're not listening to me when I'm sitting on the Chesterfield, so Vlasov's throwing down. The back of the field, it's getting interesting back there. Hessing's having some problems, and Kian Uterbrooks is having some problems, but Hessing's throwing everything in the pedals to try to stay with this peloton so he can get over the top to help Wout van Aert out. But when we start looking up at the front, and you see Vlasov about 700 meters later, 1.5 kilometers to go now, as the road starts to bend to the left, and it starts to get steeper. This is the 1K steep section I was already telling you about. Vlasov's on the front, and then he blows after 700 meters of pulling. Now we're talking about 1.3, 1.4 kilometers to go, and Primoz Roglic is on the front of the peloton. What are you going to do right now if you're the Slovenian Primoz Roglic? It's the steepest part of the climb. Either you got to be capable of lighting everyone up, and then what's the point of that? You're going to go solo over the top of the climb. They're going to chase you all the way for 25 kilometers. You're going to get caught. You're going to waste your legs. Primoz Roglic starts to realize that same tactic after about 200-300 meters of pulling. Then he pulls off. When he pulls off, this is the dangerous spot, right? Vlasov's been dropped. Danny Martinez has been dropped. Lipovic didn't even do a pull. He's been dropped. Giovanni's been dropped. All of his teammates have been dropped. Vlasov is hanging on for dear life in this group. I'll call it about 25 riders, but he's at the back, so he can't do much help right now for Primoz Roglic. As he slows down the pace, Carapaz moves over to the right side of the road, trying to get a little sneaky. It's not a full-on, full-blown attack right now from Carapaz, but he's looking over his shoulder, so he knows if he sees any hesitation, he's ready to throw an acceleration, but the guys are on him right away, so he doesn't really attack. Then we start seeing the next attack. It's Sivakov right here from UAE Team Members. Primoz Roglic is in the picture. Once it starts coming back at 500 meters to go, Primoz Roglic is going to squeeze through the middle. See how he's almost getting pinched off in the middle center of the road there? Then he squeezes through and starts his attack. He's starting in at about 500 meters to go. Ben O'Connor, he's been fantastic, always in good position, but now he's a little bit out as Primoz Roglic is throwing in his acceleration. Ben O'Connor's about 7, but there's 4 wide in front of him, so he's got to swing all the way around. Mikel Landa, I'll call it, on the left side there. As he goes around the left, Primoz Roglic is throwing in a huge acceleration. Sepp Kuss is all over him. Carapaz is there, and of course, Enric Mas is there, but there's a gap to Ben O'Connor. Primoz Roglic is throwing in that acceleration all the way up to the sprint line points competition. We'll grab a maximum of 6 seconds crossing the line first. Sepp Kuss crosses second. Carapaz crosses third. Enric Mas 0 points, but he does cross fourth. And a hair bit of a gap there to Ben O'Connor, who closes it up. Well, then the cameras go back as we see about the third, maybe the fourth group going over the top of the KOM. Guessing here at about 25, 35 seconds back, that's Kaden Groves on the back. Kaden Groves has Nairo Quintana from Movistar directly in front of him. As Kaden Groves looks left over his shoulder, he's probably looking to see if there's any teammates that can help him out to get back up to the front group. He's close enough to be able to close this gap, I believe, but he probably needs some help. As he looks back, Nairo Quintana's given the chicken arm. I don't know why he's given the chicken arm, the left chicken arm there, but he's going to go hard from the left side of the road center all the way over to the right. When he does that, he didn't bother looking back, seeing it was Kaden Groves directly on his wheel and overlapping his wheel, and he's going to tap the front wheel there of Kaden Groves. As Kaden Groves' left leg comes out, tries to save it. It doesn't. The bike goes down. He lands straight on his chest. most likely hits his head right here on the concrete, but when we see him get up later, he's not going to be all bloody on the face, so hopefully it wasn't bad. But his sunglasses just blew off his face when he came down on the ground and then had to roll out of this. You see the fan there as they're going over the top of the KOM. The fan jumps over the fencing immediately, tries to help Kaden Groves out, and then later, like I said, we'll see Kaden Groves get back on his bike. Hopefully he's okay. This was a nightmare-looking crash, though, honestly, watching it live. As Kaden Groves back there chasing, he's too far out. That means Wout van Aert up here in this group of 25. He's the fastest for sure in this group because Wout van Aert's already won one stage here, the Volta a España, and we all know the big guy's resume. Now, Primoz Roglic finally got off the front of this group. Sepp Kuss was having to get on the front because guess what? With about 21 kilometers to go, when I back the film up, we'll see that Soler, UAE team members, the Solerism. Like I told you, he's kind of losing the ism, but he catches to the front group. As he does, he brought Adam Yates with him, but he passes by on the right side, threw in a massive attack, and now Sepp Kuss is stuck on the front chasing the rider up there from UAE team members trying to win the stage. Sepp Kuss wants to win the stage, though, because he's got Wout van Aert, as I've already told you. So he's drilling it on the front. Lucky for Sepp Kuss, AG2R start getting on the front as we see Berthet up there pulling hard. Berthet was in that big break of 13 riders yesterday. Now he's still got some legs and made it over this front group. As Berthet and Sepp Kuss are rotating turns at the front, we see Soler's gap. He's going full gas on the front, but it's starting to stretch out to 10, 15 seconds. Now we get into about 12 kilometers to go. Wout van Aert starting to panic back there, rightfully so. The gap is starting to extend out to Soler. Wout van Aert sitting 7th, 8th, 10th spot there. Back behind there, the pulling of Sepp Kuss, he starts accelerating on the right side of the road. UAE Team Emirates rider, he went past one, he had one behind him. Now he's throwing in attack, and UAE Team Emirates riders have missed the bus. Wout van Aert's trying to close the gap. This is a fine tactic right here because we all know Wout van Aert can close the gap to Marc Soler, but is it wise to do? I think it is wise to do because Sepp Kuss was starting to look tired back there. He had two options, either coming to the front and doing some pulls with Sepp Kuss to try to close the gap up there to Marc Soler or go across himself. He picked the latter. I'm okay with it. As he's going across, UAE team members are chasing full gas. They want to bring Wout van Aert back as they know if Wout gets up there to Soler, well, they lose a shot at winning today's Stage 7 of the Volta a España. Wout van Aert looks over with about 10.5 kilometers to go, looks back over his shoulder, realizes UAE Team Emirates in that group back there just on their wheel are going to bring him back, so wisely slow, Wout van Aert sits up because he knows he has Sepp Kuss in the back. Now it's 9.5 kilometers to go. Wout van Aert's been wrapped up. But while that was happening, Sepp Kuss throws in a huge attack going up the right side of the road, and he's got 4 riders for company. This is a knucklehead move. I've loved everything Sepp Kuss has done since the climb started. He was magnificent, following the attacks from Primoz Roglic, never working with him, riding the front with AG2R, riding the front on his own. But now he's throwing in attack, and he's leaving behind Wout van Aert. You never want to leave your race leader. He's breaking the #1 rule on the butterfly effect. Why don't you want to break that rule? Well, now Sepp Kuss is going up the road with 5 guys. Luckily for Wout van Aert, he's following the next attacks there as Movistar is starting to close the gap. If Wout van Aert didn't have any help, what was he supposed to do back there? His only teammates going up the road. If Sepp Kuss did grab Soler and close the gap up there, what's he going to do in a group of 5-6 riders there when nobody wants to work with him? Nothing. He can't win the sprint. It's a terrible move. Luckily for Sepp Kuss and Wout van Aert, they close the gap back up. Sepp stays on the front. Soler is still driving it up there solo at about 10-12 second gap to Sepp Kuss now riding the front. We're coming into 6.5 kilometers to go. We see a group of about 5-6 riders there trying to close up as they're going under the tunnel there. I can't tell you exactly when they're going to close, but they are going to close up to the back of this group. It's going to increase the number into about 35 riders. As Sepp Kuss is still pulling on the front, we're coming into 5 kilometers to go. He's almost got Soler in sight. Now Soler looks back. He realizes it's getting close. He throws in one more acceleration on the pedals. Sepp Kuss does the same thing. Then they close up onto Soler. Now this might have been the second mistake here from Sepp Kuss. I don't know if he wanted to close up on Soler this early, but Sepp Kuss has everything wrapped up and is peloton compact right now as Sepp Kuss is riding the front. He starts getting a little frustrated. It's 2.6, 2.7 kilometers to go. Looks left over his shoulder, and he's throwing his hand out there to the AG2R guys like, hey, come on, start riding the front. Let's keep this together so you don't lose time on the general classification from someone attacking. Well, as he's doing that, directly after that, it's FDJ's Quentin Pacher. He throws in attack, but Bora Hansgrohe covered it right away. It gets brought back. Now we're coming into 1.9 kilometers to go. It's time for Civic Sivakov from UAE team members to throw an attack. He throws in a huge attack, gets a gap, and it's Bora Hansgrohe chasing in first place there at the front of the group. As Bora Hansgrohe's going full gas, that's Vlasov, Alexander Vlasov. He's going full gas, trying to bring back Sivakov up front from UAE team members. Second on his wheels, Wout van Aert. Sivakov is going with everything he can up front. We're coming into 1 kilometer to go. Sivakov still got a gap. It's a small one. I'll call it 3-4 seconds. You take your guess. As Sivakov's trying to win stage 7 here for UAE team members. With Vlasov going full gas up there, we're coming into 725 meters to go. Look at the train, the 2-man train coming up on the left side there. That is Lidl Trek. Lidl Trek Skillmost is doing the work now for his sprinter, Vasek. Vasek got back on. My best guess, Vasek was part of that 5-6 rider group that got on with 6.5 kilometer to go, but now it's his little climber, GC rider Skillmost, bringing him up to the back wheel there of Wout van Aert. With Vasek coming up to the wheel of Wout van Aert, he's going to push off the EF Education rider, I'll call it Carapaz, as he pushes over onto Wout van Aert's wheel. Sivakov is still going up the road. He's only got about a 3-second gap. We're coming in the 500 meters to go. As we see the gaps at about 1 or 2, Vlasov back there is blowing and suffering, and Sivakov's got the ugly face on too. Now we start coming in the 300 meters to go. Second place, Wout van Aert starts looking over his shoulder. He looks left again, and then all of a sudden we see the attack coming from Vasek. Vasek's the first to throw an acceleration. We'll call that 210 meters to go. Then Wout van Aert throws in his acceleration about 200 meters to go, as Vasek's got the lead there on Wout van Aert as they're coming to the left side around Vlasov. Vlasov's happy to get out of the wheel there and just save his legs for the finish. The last 175 meters to go as he's getting past. Then Wout van Aert takes over the lead as it's a drag race, and now they're passing Sivakov up front. As Sivakov knows he's not going to win today's stage, it's a 2x2 race on the side between Vasek and Wout van Aert. We come into 100 meters to go. Wout van Aert's got the lead. 50 meters to go, he's got a lead. And at 5 meters to go, he's sitting up, starting to celebrate, punching the air. Second on the stage is going to be Vasek. Third on the stage will be Paul Mikhail there from Kern Pharma as they round out the podium here on stage 7. Now, nothing happened on the general classification, or did it? It did. Lipovets got dropped when he was done working before Danny Martinez pulled off. Lipovets was never working, but he blew. He ends up losing about 19 seconds on today's stage. So I got to ask you, if we go back in time to yesterday's stage 6, Bora Hansgrohe, what were you thinking? Lipovets didn't make it over a Category 2 climb, sitting on his teammate's wheel here. What were you thinking in yesterday's stage 6 when you had Lipovets up in that group and you were happy not to do any work? Now, I got one more question before I let everything go here on the butterfly effect. If you're Bora Hansgrohe and we're still again on stage 6, how long were you going to let that gap go out, I wonder? They had already went out to 6.5 minutes. When was Bora Hansgrohe actually the red light going to start flashing for them on stage 6? Before they started working the front and starting to bring back that group that had Lipovets up there. Well, they're knuckleheads there. They're knuckleheads today because they blew up their whole team on a Category 2 climb. And as I already told you, if you can drop Ben O'Connor on a Category 2 climb here on stage 7, you can certainly drop him on HC climbs later. So today was a waste of energy for Primoz Roglic, with the exception of that 6-second time bonus. But you could have went up that climb nice and easy, gone over the climb after you won the sprint, and then gone down the descent and had your whole teammates with you in case something happened. Instead, the only thing that can happen on today's stage is you go over the top of 20 guys. You can't cover them all. Luckily for you, Sepp Kuss wanted a field sprint for Wout van Aert, so luckily Wout van Aert was there because Sepp Kuss closed all the gaps and set up a marvelous pace. Afterwards, Wout van Aert went up to Sepp Kuss and said he'll always remember winning today's stage. When he's talking to the press later, he says it's remarkable that a rider like Sepp Kuss of his kilos could control the pace so long into the finish and control that group of 30, 35 riders that later became about 40 at the finish. Sepp Kuss, marvelous job. When it comes to Wout van Aert, I remember going back to the 21 Tour de France, stage 15 and into Andorra, when Wout van Aert rode on those mountain stages all the way to deliver Sepp Kuss to that last and final climb of the Tour de France, stage 15, into Andorra. Sepp Kuss soloed that stage and won. So Wout van Aert, you have given payback throughout your whole career. You are a legend. That's why you're number 5 on my list up here, the butterfly effect, of the biggest, best riders in the world, first page. Wout van Aert, congratulations on your 2nd stage win here. First in Spain ever throughout your career. Marvelous stage 7. Don't watch the beginning part, just watch from about 40 kilometers to go, and then you'll be highly entertained. Like and subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next edition real soon.